Hi guys, today we are going to be taking a look at the Eachine VR007. So here we have it, the Eachine or Eachine. I'm not quite sure how you would pronounce this, but it's the VR007. Now this was kindly sent to me by the people at Banggood.com. I didn't ask for it. They actually sent me a message and said, would you like to try one of our FPV goggles? And they suggested this one. And looking at the box, you can see it's actually taken a bit of a beating getting over here from China, but fortunately everything inside is fine. So let's quickly check out the contents. As you see, we do have a full manual in here. To be honest, it's not really necessary. You can really figure out this machine very quickly with its very few buttons. And before we have a look at the main unit itself, let's have a look at some of the extras that you get inside the little bag. So as I pour it out, you can see that we've got two square LiPos there. Yes, these are LiPos, they're not the 9-volt kind of batteries that you expect them to be. A cloth for wiping the lens should you need to. A mini USB cable for charging the batteries. A RP-SMA antenna. As a personal preference, I would have preferred to have SMA antennas, but fortunately I do have a few RP-SMA antennas lying around. You could swap over the connector on the receiver. I will show you a bit more of this later on. So moving on towards the batteries, as you can see, these are the square batteries that you kind of assume to be the standard 9-volt batteries, something similar that you would put in a smoke alarm. But if we look closely, you can see it's a 7.4 2-cell. But if we turn it on its side, you'll see that we have a momentary switch that we can press down and check on the voltage of the battery, or percentage of the battery. You'll notice it's a little bit hard to read because it seems to light up all four at the same time. Moving on to the bottom, you can see that we have that micro USB port there, so we can charge up our batteries from any USB. This makes charging these batteries extremely simple, as most cars now come with USB, or you can use one of the cigarette lighter USB adapters. Now, I'm not 100% sure how accurate this percentage is on the side of the batteries, as I have charged one of these and not charged the other, and yet they both look the same. However, as I mentioned, it is quite easy to charge these up with any USB. I can completely understand why they would put a battery checker on the battery itself, because Fat Shark has recently started doing that also, and I do find it very convenient. The connector that is included does work with Fat Sharks, and it will power Fat Sharks also. So if you do happen to have a set of Fat Sharks, you can use these batteries on the Fat Sharks or on the Eachine VR007. So let's take a look at the main unit itself. As you can see, it does come in a matte black, which is very much reminiscent of the old Fat Shark days. On the side, we've got our minus, our menu, and our plus. We have our power jack. Going round, you can see that we actually have a really nice head strap on here, also etched with the Eachine VR007 on there. Just inside here, you'll see that there is space to fit in one of the batteries. The strap itself is of a very good thickness, and it's surprisingly comfortable to wear. Coming round onto the top side now, you'll see we have one more button, which is for your channel selection. Pressing it once will change the channel frequency by 1, or holding it down will start the autoscan feature. The magnified lens inside does come with a protector over it, so make sure you peel that off. When you plug in that 2-cell battery, you see that the monitor instantly turns on. The menu itself is very easy to navigate. On the right hand side, you have 3 buttons. If you press the middle button, that brings up the menu. Pressing the ones either side, and that will cycle backwards and forwards through the menus. The options are brightness, contrast, tint, saturation, language, and also 6x9 or 4.3. So whatever menu is showing at that moment will change when you press the plus or minus. So as you can see, I'm on the 6x9x4 free menu, and pressing the plus and minus changes the aspect ratio. So let's have a look at what the picture actually looks like. So I'm using the Vortex Pro. I'm going to use the autoscan feature to try and find a available channel. Now what you may have noticed there is that it did actually skip over the channel that it should have been on. So I just simply hold down the search button again, and it will scan through the channels and try and find the channel that the Vortex Pro is actually broadcasting on. And it finds it and then locks onto it. What I believe it does is searches through the channels on a particular band that it's on and then stops, and then you hold it again and it will search through a different band. That's just what I think it's doing. I'm not 100% sure on that. So looking at the screen here, you can see I'm getting all of the relevant information that you would expect to see from the Immersion RC Vortex. Looking at the main OSD itself, you will see that it does do a decent job of displaying everything. However, when we go to the very top of the OSD, you can just see that some of the writing is right on the very edge of the screen. Now, I thought this would have been just a bit of a hardware issue and some of the plastic was just floating over the top of the screen, but I did take this apart and it's not the case. It is actually the screen that is not able to produce the OSD lower down. It's only a minor issue, but something I thought would be worth mentioning. Trying it on for size here, you can see it's actually smaller than the Quantum V1s, V2s, and also the headplate goggles. It would also be very easy to change channels on this because of the small button sitting on the top. You wouldn't be accidentally pressing any other buttons. So let's take a quick look inside at some of the hardware. The whole thing's held together with just 4 of these screws here. And as you can see, it just pulls apart quite easily. Inside we have our magnifying lens, our screen and our receiver. Here we can see the screen, which has a resolution of 480 by 272. Actually, the FPV footage looks really nice on this. In fact, it looks better than the resolution that it states. Zooming in, we can have a quick look at some of the electronics and how this thing has been put together. I'm no expert myself, but this does look very neat, so no complaints here. Moving over to the RX side, you can see you can just simply unscrew this and then pull the RX completely out of the head unit. Again, not too much to complain about, however I did notice a little bit of solder splash on this shielding here, which I just scraped off. As I mentioned earlier in the video, it wouldn't be too hard to swap out the RP-SMA antenna for an SMA antenna. As you can see at the top, you just need to desolder it here. However, in doing so, you probably would void your warranty. The RX has 3 cables coming from it. You have the ground and the voltage as well as the video. So it would be entirely possible for you to use this RX as a standalone RX and maybe run it to a different kind of monitor if you chose not to use the standard 480 by 272 monitor in the future. Here's a quick demonstration of the OSD on the screen. And you can see that it actually goes right up to the very edge of the black line. Now this isn't an issue for most people because they can go into their OSD menu and actually move the OSD slightly further down, but it was worth me mentioning. So to finish up, here's a quick size comparison with a set of Fat Shark Dominator HDs. As you would expect, the HDs are a lot smaller, but the VR-007s aren't that imposing when compared to the head plays or to the Quantum V2s, and at around £46 they cost 10 times less than the Fat Shark goggles. So for now I'm going to end this video here. I will update the description below with my final thoughts on these once the weather gets better and I get out flying. So that's it for this video guys, thanks for watching, I'll be back soon.